Alright, so we are about to cut this humongous 4-gauge cable. Never really cut a cable this big before. You know what I'm using to cut it is these gigantic weed cutters. That's what you need to cut a cable like this. So let's give it a try. Let me measure out the length I need. Just line it up. There you go. Now that's how you cut a 4-gauge cable. But anyway, without further ado, let's get right into the process of making the battery cables that I'm going to use to connect to that. So I've already cut them, as you saw in the last video, and I've got the necessary, well, one of the parts is right here. So this is 4-gauge cable, and it should be plenty to handle what I'm going to use this for. This won't have a problem handling 150 amps for a temporary period, but I'm almost never going to be at 150 amps because I'm almost never going to actually max this out. But of course, I want everything to be built to withstand maxing that out. So these should have the necessary cross-sectional area. So I think let's get right on to the crimping process here. So you can see I've got the heat shrink and the ring terminals laid out, or the heat shrink and the lugs, I should say. These are pure copper lugs, and then we've got some heat shrink, black and red heat shrink. So yeah, let's get right into it. So the first step is we need to remove the insulation from a portion of the wire. And I'm going to do that, I'm going to attempt to do that with these. If this doesn't work, I'll try to use these. And if that doesn't work, then, well, I'll try to use scissors. I don't really have the right equipment for this because I don't have a wire stripper that can actually strip a cable this big. So I have to kind of improvise. Alright, so I'm going to try to get a good view of what's going on. Let's see if we can do this. So we want to make sure we cut the right length. And it looks like we need, around a 1/2 inch. Would probably be perfect. So about right there. Yeah, so this is going to be kind of tricky. But I usually just kind of cut around the wire and rotate it. And then try to pull it a bit. Okay, that actually wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. So the insulation isn't as thick as I thought. And there you go, we actually barely lost any strands. And now, I can take this guy and just nicely fit it on there. That's a good amount of copper, I'd say. So let's do the other side. And there we go, pops right off. Look at that. Alright, so now comes the fun part, where we actually crimp it. So the way I do this is, maybe not the best way, but I have a little device. You know what? I just realized I forgot the device. It looks like I'm just going to have to hit it with a hammer. Let's hope that I can do a good enough job with just the hammer. That's not that loud. On a concrete floor. But the main thing here is to make sure that this thing doesn't slip out while I'm hammering it. So I want to apply some pressure to it like that. It's starting to come out a little bit. Can't have that. Just got to keep doing this from all sides. And at last, we have a bunch of lovely crimped cables. My hands hurt because that was brutal doing that without a proper crimping device, but they turned out pretty good actually. So yeah, next step is to heat up the heat shrink on there, which I'll be doing with a stovetop because I don't have a heat gun. So yeah.